Hello, everyone.
Hello.
What's up? How's everyone doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Same, Nice Sunday afternoon.
Cool. We'll wait a few more minutes to get some people in, and I'll share in some group chats.
Sounds good to me.
And yeah, just to let everyone know, we are recording within the space. We will upload to YouTube after the space as well.
I'm sharing with a few group chats there too. I was able to do a recording on OBS on my desktop, even though I'm speaking on iPhone. So hopefully that'll be a good backup in case this one doesn't work.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually. I never thought about that.
Cool. Yeah, I think we can get started, and people can kind of hop in as they go. I think a good place to start would be, just kind of giving a background on Uvers. Obviously, we've known each other for a while, and kind of know each other in the space for a long time. But yeah, it would be good to just get a kind of like general segue into the podcast.
Okay, sounds good. So, what's up, everyone? I'm Verse. I kind of got into the space, I guess, in like 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. And kind of dabbled around. I mean, I started off just Bitcoin because I have a math background and I wanted to find a way to find the intersection between like finance and like cryptography. And then obviously that's like exactly what it is. So it worked out for me. From there, I kind of, dabbled around with trading and then just tried to get my foot in the door. And eventually after enough trading groups and stuff, I realized I realized people responded pretty well to my writing, even though I never considered myself much of a writer. But even back then, people kind of respond well to it. So, I just kept writing articles and kind of like theorizing about how the space can develop and such. And since then, while I've done other stuff in the space, my writing, I continue to write articles and I work as like technical writers for companies. So I've done quite a few white papers for projects, and I've written I helped in the background like tokenomics and stuff and documentation and stuff for quite a few projects too. So yeah, so that's and that brings me here, I guess. So now I'm on Twitter, shit posting, and also writing more articles.
You've got your own podcast as well, don't you?
Oh yeah, I have my own podcast. Yeah. I have the Verse and Lucas podcast with me and Schizo Frequency, Josh Lucas, and we just talk about whatever. Sometimes crypto, sometimes we talk about machinery, sometimes we talk about Twitter, just whatever. Good times. You should check it out.
Cool. And in terms of like your Web3 and gaming specifically, what's your kind of experience with Web3 gaming specifically? And then we can obviously go into your Substack about it.
Sure. So with Web3 gaming, I guess I started the first. So I worked for Nifty Island for a while, and after that I worked with like smaller companies like Vortex. I don't know if you guys. Doesn't really matter. Vortex, and then I also worked with another. What's the other company? I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, I worked with a few Web2 gaming companies in the last like couple years, and as a consequence, I've been not only like in the meetings and helping them develop their stuff, but also going to events, and like I was at Consensus last year in the Web3 gaming panel area, talking to everyone from representing Nispi Island, and then just in the context of that, and also like my whole life, like my life experience from gaming, it kind of just became obvious to me that a lot of the space is just misunderstanding they're just kind of misunderstanding how to make a viable game. And I mean specifically like the game loop is not there, right? I mean, there's a few ways in which people have some good ideas, and I think a lot, but I feel like they're building like top down instead of ground up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. In your article, you kind of mentioned this in terms of the paradigm, and I've seen it firsthand. I've worked with a metaverse company and a few gaming companies. They'll try to build something around the blockchain rather than trying to put the user experience first. I think that's been a pretty kind of like common theme. So yeah, in terms of that, what do you kind of think would be the solution to overcome this gaming issue of blockchain first development?
So I think you can't really escape. You can't really escape like the fact that we are trying to build a blockchain game, right? So I think the best course of action in, to avoid the problem that we're seeing, where people are trying to like adapt a game, like mold a game around the blockchain, is to pick genres that I think are already very clearly native to like a blockchain, right? So I think in the article I picked a few genres that I thought were obviously pre-native, right? Obviously, the first thing everyone thinks of is like the metaverse sandbox type of game, like your Roblox type of game, your Minecraft, whatever, which is fine, but it's just really hard to build that. Like the metaverse, as like the name implies, should kind of come about naturally as you like do cross platform stuff. But I think the most obvious game type that I think would work pretty quickly would be like if you took what are they called? Roguelikes, those type of games where you have like a procedurally generated level or whatever the premise of the game is, and each individual run of the game is like temporarily stored, probably in whatever game cache, and then like at the end of each run you die, and it has permanent death. But typically what happens is you die and you can bring over an item to the next playthrough and all subsequent playthroughs. And I think that's like pretty clearly a way you can just like integrate that in NFTs, or you can integrate that into the blockchain itself. And I feel like the keeping a permanent carryover with like specific instances of temporary death. I think that's like a very native blockchain type of idea. I think you can do like those deck builder games. I think that's a pretty native idea as well. Obviously there's a few companies that are trying to do that, like Parallel, of course. I just think Parallel is messing up, or has messed up, by not making the game accessible to play and like a multiplayer. Like, sure, there's a game, but like I feel like they're building the art before they're building the game, which is like, I guess you have to do that. But it's been like 3 years, and no one has like played it really. I don't know. I just think there's better ways to like build a community as grassroots first. I mentioned a few other genres too, but I think those are two most obvious: roguelites and deck builders.
Yeah, I think that's a bit interesting. I think like I haven't looked too much into it, but I did see some mention of the Bored Ape community essentially doing something where they have like season-based games, and then at the end of the season they kind of like tally up who's won, who's on top of the leaderboard, and they kind of reward off of that. Have you looked into that, or what do you kind of think of like a season-based approach?
Yeah, I think seasons are cool too. I haven't looked into the Board Apes one, so I can't really speak on it too knowledgeably. But I think that's also good. Like have like doing like kind of mini games, and instead of making one that's supposed to last forever, which I think a cool example of that I think is I don't know what it's called. It's the Locust game, like those puzzle games, like when you do like a geo tracker type of game, one of those like puzzle games, like the Locust Project. I can't remember what it's called, like Locust 31 something, right? Like nice like community driven like mystery games. I think those are stuff that you could do pretty fun in a fun like seasonal manner that like gets the entire community involved, and you can easily adapt it to the blockchain. Whether that be like actually putting the like the one idea I think would be kind of cool is if you did like a Zach XPT kind of game where you like hide secrets on like dummy accounts, and people like look through the blockchain to find mysteries and stuff. I think that'd be cool. Or like I guess in this case it would be like find out financial fraud, but I'm sure you can find a creative way to do it. I think there's like I think there's a lot of cool ways to get entire community working together to like play a game, or like a game like experience that like integrates the actual mechanics of the blockchain first.
What do you think is the like the one thing I notice with any sort of collaborative or like community based participation thing, it just seems like people's attention spans aren't there. and that while when things first are launched, there's like the enthused maybe like holders of the project or like followers get really involved, but then people just lose touch quickly. How do you kind of solve that short attention span issue?
So that's the thing. That's like the main issue, right? That's what happens when you build a game around the blockchain instead of building a game, like an actual game that is blockchain integrated. If that makes sense. Like you don't stop when when a game drops. Obviously, there's always drop off with the community, but people continue to play the game for months or years because the core game loop is like addictive, right? So you have to build a game fundamentally, and that's what is constantly missed. Like there's only but so much people are going to be motivated, even if it is by real money, unless the actual core game loop is exciting, right? Or like not even it doesn't have to be that exciting. It just has to be engaging and addictive, right? So like people were playing Mario and they still play Mario for 30, 40, almost 40 years at this point because, jumping around and playing as Mario is fun. They didn't have to have financial incentive to do so. You just need to make a game. It could be a simple game, but it has to be a game that has legitimate game loop, and that's what is known to everybody else, but missing in the game in like the GameFi space, right? I mean, like the closest we've got to like a legitimately engaging game loop I found was DeFi Kingdoms, kind of, because it was kind of like an RPG, but they didn't kind of roll out the actual RPG elements fast enough, so the financial incentive caught up faster. If there's another one, I've yet to see it, but I can't really find any that who's like a really core game loop that's just fun. And if you just make a fun game, even if it's like a game that's not particularly AAA, that people will come and they'll play it and they'll stay hooked. And then the financial incentive is just a byproduct of the fact that people are continuing to play your game.
I like how Verz is hitting the root of the issue. None of these games really have a hook that keeps you more than one cycle, one season. Like the reason Fortnite, the reason Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering, all of those have sequential series is because it builds on. But all the games, like everything is a derivative at the end of the day, but they're bad derivatives. Like Mario works because every like from Luigi's Mansion was a fantastic sequel spinoff.
Exactly. And then there's a core game loop, and even if you can change and build on it, right? Like Luigi's Mansion is completely different from Mario, but it has like it has what makes Mario fun is the movement and the is like moving around the space and like interacting with everything in your like playing as the actual character, right? In some games it's like defeating enemies, some places this or whatever, but like the Mario games, it's the movement that feels really nice, and they find different ways to make movement engaging, and that's what keeps you there. If you play a game that's like, even if you play a game that's a little more like strategy based, right? If you play something like Civilization, obviously your goal is to build a civilization, but there's fun in like thinking about each step. It's like feels very chess like, where you're like, okay, if I do this and this is the outcome. You have to get a core like on a minute by minute level. What's going to keep the player there? And if you make that fun, then they'll stay, and then the rest of it is easy.
Right, games at the end of the day do nothing but signal dopamine reactions, and if your game or lore or whatever storyline doesn't provide that, then well, that's merit in and of itself. If it's good, people will stay. If it's bad, people leave, and people left.
Exactly, and it's also weird considering the fact that like if you consider like trading on FTX or rest in peace, trading on FTX or like doing like online poker game, like it's already like native to like blockchain space, and then that keeps people hooked for days and hours at a time. So it's not like it's that hard when you have financial incentive. You're just using the dopamine level's already high. You just have to like make it like a constant feed.
You need that like just one more turn effect kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, once you create a system of feedback loops, like you don't really have to do anything. You just sit back and let people enjoy themselves, but the people aren't enjoying themselves. That's why the users aren't there. There's nothing to enjoy. I mean, this year is when like a lot of like all the roadmaps that were established in the bull market were supposed to like, right? The art comes and then it's the game season. Well, where are the games? I see a couple people building and that's awesome to see, but like for the most part, everything has stagnated, and rightfully so. Like this year, a lot of the crappy projects are going to filter out, and I think that's good.
Yeah, for sure. I also think it's weird because like it's not that they don't have the money to do it or they can't get the teams. It's that they just don't. They're like again, they're trying to go
they're
AAA.
lazy. They're lazy.
They're
They're
lazy. Yeah.
complacent.
Complacent is that's definitely it, because it's like you could take, let's say you're throwing $20 million at a game. You don't need to do that. You could throw $500,000 at a game and just get like a good team, and it's fun to play. And even if it's a smaller experience, and iterate on it and build it as more people play it. You don't have to start with AAA. You got to start like, there's indie games that have me hooked that were made by 3 people, right? I put hundreds of, like, well, not hundreds, like 100 hours into Hollow Knight, which is made by 3 people, and that was not, they didn't have a huge budget, and there's a million games like that.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. Why that kind of failure happens. I've worked at a blockchain native kind of metaverse company. All the founders, they were like heavy in crypto, but not a single one of them was a developer, or like they didn't come from a gaming background. They're just guys who kind of launched a coin, and they made a lot of money. So they had a lot of money to kind of throw into it, but they didn't have the sort of product to like you're saying, like have that hook and have that kind of engagement. They didn't really know what they want. I think they did not understand the gravity of game development. Working with game developers is probably one of the hardest things you can do. They're very like particular about how to do things. And Red Dead Redemption took like 10 years to make, and a lot of money, like 9 figures worth of money. So I definitely think there is like some sort of scaling issue, and even Red Dead Redemption 2 took like years and years to kind of get the formula right, and they had like a well-fledged studio just making that game. So my kind of question next is like, what were the reasons why the metaverse failed? Specifically with like Facebook's foray into this space.
Oh, that one I think is because people just don't understand what the metaverse is. It's in the name, and you can't construct a metaverse top down. Metaverse implies it's like like a base layer, or I guess like a more abstracted layer of the overall gaming verse, right? So it should it should arise as an emergent property of connecting games that already exist, right? You should have interoperability between different games. This is why we want to use blockchain, right? This is why people are like, oh, NFTs in gaming is cool, because it's an asset that it can be could traverse across different games. So you
Sorry about the delay there, guys.
What was the last thing I said? I don't know. I just kept talking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was the host that dropped there, so I'm not sure
Yeah,
what's going on Grit's end, but
it's okay. Anyway, I don't know what I was saying last, but effectively it's just that.
Sorry, can you hear me?
I'll
Yeah,
wait for people to come back.
apologies.
I'll wait for people to come back. 1 second.
Yeah, let me just post this up again. We got rugged. Cool. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're clear.
Yeah. We're probably better to just start the question again. So, yeah, I was just asking, why did the metaverse fail? Why did Facebook flop? So yeah, you can just kick it off.
That's what I know. All right. So effectively, just that they are building a metaverse top down when a metaverse should be an emergent property of interoperability between other games. So again, the reason we're using the blockchain is because it's permanent, right? Your wallets are public; they're permanent. Any game can see what assets a user holds, and it can go from there. So the premise being, you should be making games that, and you should be working, collaborating with games that already exist. And the more you collaborate with other games, the more you partner with other games and go, okay, you're holding this NFT, and we recognize that you have this NFT, so we're going to make in-game items in our game. And the more that iterates and that process happens, a few generations of that, and next thing you know, you have the metaverse as an emergent property of the fact that all Web3 games are effectively connected in some capacity. And while you can do your VR chats and your Facebook metaverse thing, that's only going to work if you do it like what I thought Facebook was going to do was just build a big one and start like buying up smaller games as they do with everything, and then effectively force the connection, which I don't particularly like. But I mean, that's what Facebook is. So if you want to, use Facebook, that makes sense to me. But I think the longevity of the metaverse would be everyone making small projects and connecting it, and then it might just happen that way.
Is there any existing IP that you think has a shot of actually creating like a good game loop?
Existing IP. In Web3, I don't know. I mean, there's a few of them I'm keeping an eye on. I haven't played that game on Solana. What is it called? Star Atlas. That one looks cool because I like that it's trying to do the EVE Online thing. I think that's a very, very blockchain native. I mean, if you don't know about EVE Online, it was like this big like spaceship builder type of game, and then you build like a whole like space imperial fleet type of thing, and then like and if you die, your ship is destroyed and like it's gone forever, right? So this kind of game, and it created like this huge in-game economy that like ships would sell for tens of thousands of dollars. And there's like insane, like it's been going for like a decade, and there's like insane moments of history where they like would do these huge like invasions, and it became what one would imagine a metaverse game to be like. So if they can kind of capture that magic, I think Star Atlas could be. But I haven't played the game. I don't think it's out yet. They've been talking about it forever, so I'm not sure if someone does know. But maybe that. I mean, I was working at Nifty Island. I like it. The more they keep pushing about the release date, I guess for market conditions to improve, which makes sense. So that could be good too. And they're the ones using a lot of the interoperability idea. That's kind of where I work for them. But beyond that, I'm just keeping my eyes out. I haven't seen anything particularly noteworthy yet. But once I see it, I'll absolutely be shilling it because it's, it'll stand out it'll be a diamond in the rough type of thing.
Yeah, we're big fans of Nifty Island. So I'm just curious from a personal level as well. What are some of the things that you learned while you were working there? About crypto, Web3. The entire like gaming experience. What were your kind of like takeaways that you'll remember?
Well, one, how difficult it is to build a game. I mean, you were talking about it before about how long it took to build Red Dead Redemption. It is just an incredibly laborious project. And even if you don't do something on the scale of what they're doing, it's just very difficult. And it takes a huge team of artists. It takes a lot of tweaking. It takes a lot of iteration, which is, again, why I'm very much on the side of build a simpler game and iterate and make it more complicated over time. That's your team fortress. That game started out as just like a mod of Call of Duty, and then it became what it is now. That's really any indie game started off super simple, and and you iterate it over time. I think that's Mario. That's really everything. So that's because of how I mean, like that team was like 60 people, and like half of the team was like 3D artists. It's just a really complicated project to do anything of any scale. So I think literally a small team of 2-3 people can make a game that like goes nuts and makes millions of dollars in the space. It's just a matter of like, do you understand the scope of what you're trying to build? If you build something that is very, very streamlined of an idea, that's simple, it's still going to take a long time, but you can do it with a small team, and it can still have the same amount of success. And I think that's like the vector that's not really being explored the way that it should be.
So Vers, it sounds like you're more boots on the ground. Do you think these big gaming companies like EA and them, they're gonna miss the boat? Because when they pivot, they'll be able to pivot pretty instantaneously because they have the resources and the manpower. But for the moment, a lot of them are shrugging it off because at the end of the day, Web3 is still kind of a joke.
Yes, I do think that that's the case. They're just like, they know that they can, once they do pivot, they can do it better than an average studio. But because there's still no, lack of a better word, killer app for Web3 gaming, like once you have the first like legitimate blockchain game that everyone starts playing, that's when they go, oh wait, there's like, when you have your first what was the game that like blew up on phones? Was it Flappy Bird? Once you make people realize that like you can do this, like instead of doing mobile apps, we could just do a blockchain game and get the same kind of like market whatever presence.
Have you tried any? So I tried beta testing, like, what is that Temple Run clone copy, some RPG clone copy from the last year or so, and it's all pretty clunky. Why would I play that than just play RuneScape, then play Temple Run, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, they tried doing the what play to earn, like we found out doesn't last. Like
Yeah.
it's a shiny thing.
It needs to be novel. I mean, it could still be like, it doesn't have to be complicated. Like it could be a simpler game like Temple Run, but it has to be a novel game, right? Temple Run's fun because it's like a mobile native game that was fun, and it was a fun, engaging type of situation. Even like, what is it? Not Bejeweled. What's the other one? Candy Crush. It's, it's basically Bejeweled, but it's like they made it a little bit more mobile friendly, right? You can find a game has a simple like game loop. It's just that you have to really make a game that's not something that exists already.
There was a mobile game released by a Chinese studio that last fall that killed it. It was just like, it took about 4 years of development, about 80 million, but like in terms of mobile apps that stood out, there hasn't been one. Like, I forgot what it was called, but it was essentially like a mixture of like Final Fantasy but on your phone, and it was like cooperative too.
Oh, that's Japanese. I'm not sure. I mean, I think you can have. I think this is one of those situations like with a lot of markets where those big studios are like focused on making big, like EA is like Marvel, where it's like they'd rather put in 10 years into a game they know is going to make $1 billion or $2 billion rather than try something small, because they don't need to do that. And just the more effort they put into the game, the more they make on the back end. So they're like, we don't need to worry about Web3 gaming. So I think there's actually like still massive room for anyone to build something. I think there's only upside. It's just that someone needs to actually make a game that like actually is a game.
What are your thoughts on sort of the underlying infrastructure not quite being there yet? Because looking at even Solana or Arbitrum or some of the more sort of actually like used protocols that have lower fees, they're still prohibitively high for like a gaming sort of environment. Like nobody wants to spend $5 in gas to like transfer an item in a game. People balk at spending $20 a month on a game.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got to consider people balk at that, but they also, when when Candy Crush came out, people will spend $20 a day to keep the game loop going, or they'll play Genshin Impact and they'll roll another gacha, right? So it's not the matter that they care about the money; is that they care about the money when the game loop's not even engaging enough for them to not care about the money, right? People will spend tens of thousands of dollars on the game if they find it incredibly engaging. It's just that there's no.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've spent too much money on like World of Tanks back in the day.
Yeah, I spent a lot of money on. There's a game called Archaea. It's like a rhythm game on my phone. I bought like every pack because it's just I want to play more songs, right? So once you get the game there, people love to spend money. You just got to make it just that the appeal of continuing the game loop is higher than the cost to continue it. So that's easy to figure out once a good game is around.
So, I mean, it's interesting about spending money within gaming. In terms of like
revenue streams for games. What have you given that any thought in terms of how could a Web3 game specifically make more money in new different types of ways?
Yeah. So like the I don't know if this the two I'm thinking of. There's two main ideas that I think. If you pay for like specific in-game items, I mean, you don't want to pay to play. But for example, if you do like, what's a good example of how to do this without making it pay to play? I'll come back to that. The other version. Oh, I know, like deck builders, right? You obviously don't want to have to pay for the best cards because that just makes it pay to play, and no one wants to play a game like that. But if you create like a secondary market where like these items do exist, and some of these items are like locked behind the game loop, so you have to unlock them via difficulty, and you just provide the users with a means of doing like a secondary market for those items, then you could just take off 1 or 2%, whatever percentage off the transaction, right? You don't need to actually charge them for the item, but you just give them the opportunity to sell the item and just take a cut off the whatever from there, and that works really well when there's a game that people want. Right, so if you're building like a deck game building game, or if you're doing like a roguelite, people are going to go, okay, it'll take me 20 different runs to get to that item, but I'd like to get to it now. Do I want to do 20 different runs to get to that item, or do I want to pay X dollars to get the item now so I can continue to do the run in the way I want to do it? People do that all the time. That's like Magic the Gathering. That's like Pokemon. That's like, we've seen that a million times, that people have no problem paying. The other thing I think would work is if you do like multiplayer, right? But specifically, like, this sounds silly, but I think it's already something that a lot of Web3 people do, whereas you just gamble on your multiplayer experience, right? So like in crypto all the time, we would gamble on Connect 4, which is such a silly thing to gamble on, but it's a game, it's a fun game, we all know how to play the game, and you can do wagers on it, right? And there's no game it wasn't like native, we just did the wagers on the side, like a side bet, right? But then it's like, if you made a game that was actually fun, that's simple enough, and people want to do the multiplayer, and just integrate having, okay, we're going to wager X coins on the outcome of this battle, then you just go, okay, if you wager 5 coins, we take one of the 5, and boom. And that's also a super easy way to gain revenue, as long as you build the infrastructure for people to do it. There's like no multiplayer games, from what I can tell. I mean, there's like multiplayer like MMO or Metaverse, but there's not like, like a one-on-one, like PvP type of games.
Yeah, I think in another space we kind of discussed, if you could play PvP Call of Duty and then bet on the outcome, you both bet $5 or something. I think that would be a pretty good kind of feature. So in terms of just bridging on finance. So there's a sort of paradigm where people want in-game things to be NFTs, and then they want to bring NFT finance or NFT-fi, such as getting yield of NFTs and all this other kind of stuff, just making things really like abstract and derivative. What are your thoughts on trying to build a DeFi tool within a game?
I think that's fine. I think like what was that, DeFi Kingdoms? If that had like the market not crashed and there was like a whole controversy, I think there's a way to make like a legitimate DeFi protocol within a game, and it's fine. Just if it's like sufficiently, like the games, like if you consider the fact that we all do DeFi stuff and play it like a game anyway, all of it's gamified, it's all exciting to us. So adding like a graphic interface over the DeFi stuff should not be a problem, since we're doing it anyway. So I can see someone figure out I think DeFi Kingdoms was pretty close to figuring out how to do it anyway. So if the next iteration of DeFi Kingdoms or whatever, I'm sure that'll be fine. I don't see where there's a reason why that couldn't work. And then I mean, I think that like if you do like NFT tokenomics, I think you could find a game built around that. I don't see why there should be I don't know, if you could building like derivative items, and you can build like let's say like a Minecraft game, right, where you build build whatever items in some like crazy palace or whatever, and then you can build off, like you could sell the NFT like ancillary NFTs to their palace, and people can have little vacation homes. I don't know. There's a lot of ways in which you can make it work and be fun. I don't see why that's a problem.
Have you looked into the Forgotten Runes game? I know they are focusing quite a bit on establishing like a core gameplay loop as part of it's like a JRPG MMO.
Yeah.
But one of the other pieces that they're trying to build into it is like this idea of create to earn, where like in the game you can create like quests and like content yourself that would like pay dividends as people use it going forward.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly that should be the path for any of those like metaverse types or like RPG, metaverse, whatever games. Like your build Mario level, like a Mario level builder, like they used to do, and then people would sell the levels. Yeah, absolutely. It's UGC. That's like YouTube. That's
Like in GTA, right? People create their own GTA servers and just host them and make people pay a subscription fee, and that brings in like a yearly income.
exactly. Yeah, I think that's like you should provide those tools in any game you build if it's like a massive multiplayer type of situation, of course.
Roblox also does that too in Minecraft, right? A bunch of like teenagers run their own Roblox and Minecraft servers.
Yes, and Roblox is like one of the most used games. Period. Like most, like I think if you're below a certain age, like 16, it is the most used like app on the internet, and it has like this, and it just has a strict age drop off. So we just essentially need to create the bridge
for the kids.
Yeah,
but I think people keep trying to build for Disney adults, and that's just not sustainable. They don't have the purchasing power.
Yeah, you don't need Disney adults. You need to just build. You need to give the kids what they had, like in those Roblox games. Like Roblox gives you freedom to do anything. You can build full like sub games. You can build like whatever, sell it. It's like a whole economy. It has all this UGC content. It's a generation of kids that are making YouTube channels and TikTok channels and making real money off of playing online. So you need to make something that's similar to that continues into like the adult world.
Yeah, I agree. So do you think, Web3 gaming should focus on, let's say, children?
I would say focus on teenagers. I don't know if children. I think like legitimately like, because again, you still have to have money to play, right? So I would focus on like the 15 and up crew of like kids who are like, I'm too old to play in Roblox. I feel kind of old about that. And I have this YouTube channel or I have this and that, and I want to continue to make money while I play games. But what is there to do? You need to like that. You need to get the bridge from the late teens to adulthood. And I think that's where it is. And that's effectively what most games are, right? Effectively, they're still like, late teens. Who has the most time to play your game? It's teenagers. They have nothing else to do. They don't have a job yet. Their school's easy enough. And so they play a lot of games. And
I mean, there's a reason why. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Vern.
Oh, no, continue.
I was just say, so there's a reason why in marketing and the ad agencies, once you turn 17, you're no longer the target demographic of capitalism. Like
Exactly.
your money doesn't matter because one, you haven't worked long enough. Two, you haven't started working.
Yeah, you haven't started working, and now you're at 17, 18. You're in college. You're doing stuff that 14 to like 17 age group where you have literally no responsibilities except to get really, really good at some game you're playing. That's the person you want to like market to, like not just market to, but like build your game around.
Just do what the tobacco companies do.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that was one of Facebook's first hires. Facebook's first dozen hires were like marketing executives from the casino industry and the tobacco industry.
That's smart. I mean, that's what they used to do for crypto too. Well, not for tobacco, but they used to get to casino game designers to build tokenomics for coins because it's the same thing essentially. So that's what you should take those guys and make gaming.
Oops, yeah, that's super interesting in terms of age demographic. So as more and more kids and generally young people kind of come into Web3 as a whole, where do you kind of see the space going? There's been a lot of like different types of summers, DeFi summer, NFT summer. What do you think's like upcoming next?
So the one thing I think that's going to happen that hasn't happened yet, it's kind of I don't know if it's a silly idea, but it seems kind of natural, is that you're going to see one of those like meme situation, like a Doge, but like for an NFT, and people are going to use the NFT kind of like as like a fake transfer, like maybe like an unlimited printing of some meme NFT that is like used everywhere. I can see that happening kind of like either as like a cool kids club type of thing or like a meme currency.
Did
It
I
won't be
just
a
hear you say Pepe?
yeah, Pepe, but isn't Pepe just a coin though? It's not like a is
Well,
it is
there's
it a
like
card?
Pepe has a lore behind it. It's like chronically online. Like that group of people created an entire storyline and then spin-offs. I mean, that's what the what is it? My Lady's holding power essentially is a little bit of the Pepe esque.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. It's very similar. You want like a lore driven kind of NFT. I could see that having a lot more weight. I can also see like as the kids get on, I don't see why. I mean, these kids are building huge audiences from their Twitch streams and their TikToks and their whatever. I can see just like a weird like balkanization where like these like small like super popular communities pop up that we have no idea like why is this person have like this like a million holder NFT that like they don't interact with the rest of us, and just built around a Twitch channel or something. Like
It
a
reminds me
subreddit.
of how there's like Indian athletes who have 9-figure followings, but Americans have never heard of them just because we don't interact with them. Like they're doing their own thing in cricket and whatnot. Same with like the
Yeah,
K-pop community. There's gonna be like, did you play DDR? Like I did. I mean, that's just like part of
absolutely. Yeah,
being
I love
Asian.
DDR.
But there's
I
gonna
love
be
DDR.
the K-pop people are gonna figure something out in the music NFT round that the people who are currently doing music NFT will never see coming.
Oh, that's a perfect one. Yeah, the music NFTs. Uh, or like that would actually would like a music NFT if you made like a licensing for your song and also like track like and then add what is it like the ERC 1155 or whatever it is where you can make like subsidiary NFTs and now you have all like the DDR Guitar Hero blah 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 track listing like track mapping as like when you buy the licensing. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. There's a million things you could do. I think that like we'll see like a huge explosion, but and like it won't be like this year. Maybe it starts this year, but in a couple years when like those kids who saw crypto and they like think of crypto as like an obvious like future, like we got to consider like we've been in the space but we're a little bit older, so we watched it like go from this is a stupid idea to okay there's something here but we're not really sure and you guys are all degenerates. But then the kids who were 12 in 2017, they're going to get to be adults soon and they're going to go, oh yeah, crypto's obviously going to be a thing, and they're going to take it very seriously. Just like they
Like
take
what are
food
the
seriously.
kids who are the children of the OnlyFans mommies and the Vape King fuckboys and the Pepe, what is it, Peppa Pig? Yeah. What are they gonna play?
Yeah, exactly. Then they're gonna take it seriously. I mean, just like they take their streaming seriously. Like how many kids have like mass? I see like kids all the time with like 50,000 followers, and you're just like, why? So they took it seriously at 13, and when we thought it was silly.
Yeah, yeah, that's super crazy. I mean, I've never seen like a Mr. Beast film. The first time I heard of Mr. Beast was when he was like making the burgers. I was like, why is a YouTuber making burgers? And then I just kind of realized he's a huge guy, and I still haven't watched the film, but any of his videos. But I think I think that touches on an interesting point of just like very localized niches on the internet, subcultures that are just coming out of nowhere, like that Aiden Ross guy. Still don't know who that guy. I mean, I just know he's a Twitch streamer, and that's about it. So yeah, I kind of I totally get that. I kind of forgot the question I was going to ask. Got distracted with Mr. Beast, but yeah, I mean, so I suppose we could segue. That's what you kind of like want the space to go. I mean, is there anything specific that you want to be developed? That would aid your life.
In crypto, let me think. I don't know if there's anything to aid my life. There are things I want to be developed, but I have like weird tastes. Like I want a puzzle. I really want a crypto puzzle game that's like a massive. I keep saying the Zach XBT game, but I think other than like actually trying to find financial fraud, like CoffeeZilla or something, I would like to have a game that's like someone makes fake dummy wallets and they like do transactions in a really like meticulous way, and you're trying to figure out like a whodunit mystery, but like with online wallets. I think that'd be sick.
Like the
It
Cicada
just
3301 that the intelligence
exactly.
agencies do.
Yes, the Cicada game. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Yeah, the Cicada game. If you do that, but with like on-chain stuff between different wallets and across different bridges and stuff, that'd be sick. it just takes a lot of like effort to do that, and you just need someone who's like actually that, like meticulous enough to do it.
Meticulous and autistic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Deep autism. You need a team, deep autist team.
yeah, you need to be kind of schizophrenic as well to do that. I mean, I heard rumors that that's what they're trying to do. Like Satoshi's keys, apparently, like he hid them in like 4 different like codes or something. I don't know. That's just a 3301 rumor.
Like Ready Player One.
Yeah, I mean,
You can
Yeah.
find the
pretty
key.
much. Maybe that was a CIA psyop, and they're just trying to tell us.
I mean, maybe. You never know. I mean, Snow Crash was connected to DARPA, and so we see how that's playing out. All the stuff from Snow Crash is like becoming real.
So, what are you currently working on at the moment?
At the moment, I'm working on. Well, actually, I'm trying. Like I said in the article, I wanted to just try to do the Web3 gaming thing. So, like, one of my side projects. Well, I guess it's my core side project, other than like my Substack and stuff, would be like doing is like working and learning Unity and trying to build a small game and do is what I'm saying and start like ground up. And I'm in a few dev discords and stuff to build it out. But so that's my personal side project, but I don't know how long that's going to take because I obviously can program already, but never made a game before. So, well, I like helped make a game, but I never like made a game. So we'll see how that goes. Beyond that, it's just like looking for projects. I mean, I do technical writing, so if anyone needs the white papers and stuff, I'm always down for that. And yeah, or
Wait, you have
documentation.
white papers of what you're working on, or are you looking to read white papers?
No, I write white papers. That's like one of my like crypto side hustles. So it's like if you have a DeFi project or whatever, and you need someone to help write out the documentation of the white papers, I people reach out to me for that. And also, a friend of mine made a code auditing company, so I guess I'm helping out with that, doing biz dev.
Cool. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
sorry, this is a bit of a sideways jump here, but we don't have a ton of time left. I'm just wondering if you could share some of your thoughts on the market action the last few days with NFTs and some of the capitulation from the like VC backed projects into the sort of Rumelia ecosystem.
Oh well, that I think is inevitable. I mean, I was saying this before. I think I don't even have tweets where I was like, Milady's gonna flip apes. That prophecy's gonna come true. All the fake kind of like corporate VC backed NFTs they were astroturfed anyway, and you just can't beat a project that has real life events with a rabid fan base that meets up irrespective of the price, irrespective of the FUD, irrespective of the price. There's Milady Raves when it was worth 0.02, and there's Milady Raves when it's worth 2.5, right? It doesn't really matter. And now it's becoming global. There's London, LA, Japan raves. If you have a rabid, like actual foots on the ground community with like that is more than just a coin, it's like there's like a whole fashion and vibe around it that just wins every time. So they're not going to go anywhere. And I think it was inevitable that the FUD was going to be shown to be fake, and they'll realize that like the reason why the FUD keeps happening whenever the price goes up is because it's like one of the only legitimate projects with like a legitimate fan base that like is actually cares about it. And people should just learn from Milady. I think it's just very clear that like Charlie figured something out, and they should try to emulate that.
Plus, the weather's starting to get nice. My lady barbecues, my lady potlucks.
Come on, so many fun things. And I think market conditions. I think we're kind of. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like bottom is in. It's been in. I mean, we're going to see volatility. Like the bottom doesn't just come in and then it like goes right up. It'll be chopping around for a bit, but I think it's not going to go to like old lows. I think it's over. I think it's like
I can't. I can't imagine a world where we're going down to like 800 ETH again.
That's done.
Not,
we saw below 1,000, and that was the only time you're going to see below 1,000 again. So Yeah. So I think, and again, and also now we got to consider a crash can't be the way that it used to be, because before crashes they would happen and then like the market would rebound based off like rumors of things that might happen. There's like a legitimate, like there's like a million users of all these products. Like there's like real products now. Like it's hard to have complete like destruction when there's legitimate projects with legitimate money behind them. It's just you can't go back down to $88 again. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's a pretty good core base of, like you say, like I don't know, like 100,000, 500,000. I'm not sure the number, but there's like people there that are just like never fucking selling at this point, and like you just can't shake them out. You saw that with Milady in the summer last year, right? Like it literally nothing going their way, no volume, everybody of any sort of clout hating on it, painted like with blood, and yet nobody fucking sold, right? Like they lost maybe like 200 holders or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the difference between FUD and real life. Like again, when you have a real community, it's you can't shake them. You're not going to shake everyone out of ETH in the blockchain. You're not going to shake everyone out of Milady. I mean, hey, listen, I don't like them that much, but same thing goes for the apes and actually just the apes I don't like. I'm okay with the other one. And like punks, you're never going to shake those people out. It's just like, yeah, some things are just not going away. And and that goes to show you that there's legitimate people now, legitimate community. It's not just like, what's it called when you wash trading? It's not just wash trading anymore. So that's good. That bodes well for the future. This is time to continue to build projects because they're gonna. Yeah, now there's never been more tool to help you build something from scratch.
Yeah, I kind of agree with like actual use cases being in the market and people actually staying here. I think the kind of days of like off ramping haven't come to an end yet, but most people would just rather stay on chain as much as possible. For me, I earn money, live off on chain activity. So yeah, that's my kind of position. I'm not so convinced about the bottom is in, mainly due to like larger macro things. I mean, that could go either way. I'm hearing a lot of like bears get loud over the last couple of weeks. But again, I don't know. I don't really care. I'm still going to be here. And
The only real thing I'm scared about is like the FUD they were saying about how what was the other? It wasn't SVB. It was the other bank that was crypto correlated in the U.S. allowed for like helping with a lot of the off ramping stuff. If they attack enough of those banks, that could be a problem. But otherwise, I mean, now that they have like crypto cards and stuff that you can spend stuff at the store, it's like I don't see why you need to go off chain for most of it. So
yeah, for sure.
so I think it's fine.
My co-founder Max, he just wanted me to say that Sakuri is full of autistic people. So yeah, I mean that's more or less it. I mean we went quite deep in like gaming specifically. I feel as though we touched more than a lot of our podcasts do. Specifically to Web3 gaming. Is there any kind of like final thoughts or any kind of plugs you want to do, or do Pixel Ladies or Kimchi? Do you guys want to say anything before we hop off?
Mint my project. It's almost out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I've said most of my piece. Check out my Substack and check out Version Lucas podcast on all audio platforms and YouTube.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for everyone who kind of tuned in. Be sure to check out the panel speakers and be sure to check out Security Protocol. We're still in sort of stealth, so we will be releasing a demo pretty soon. So it would be good to get people signed up to that. But yeah, appreciate everyone hopping on, and we wish you a happy week.
Cool. Thanks for